Sometimes humans can be pretty crappy to other humans. So easy not to be crappy. Mental toughness be knowing that you're going to have to work through things that are going to be uncomfortable, still going through them anyway.
They seem to start off fine, and the second it gets tough, it all disappears. What goes into that?
Our minds want us to be comfortable. And so when these moments happen, I think they blindside us. We kind of get our self-improvement fix from motivation and don't actually do anything.
From your conversation with Kobe Bryant, did you learn anything from him straight away? Like whenever you were speaking to him, there was something you just felt that it was different about him?
And even in talking about it, it's like I'm getting a little choked up because
define in your own words what mentally tough is.
knowing that you're going to have to work through things that are going to be uncomfortable, preparing yourself for those moments and still going through them anyway. Doing it despite being afraid, doing it despite being nervous or whatever. We're all nervous. Even the ones that you think that are like got it all together and we look calm on the outside, it's like we're all nervous. I think even Pele was like, they're like, Pele, how'd you get, so comfortable, and he's like, I'm terrified every time. Knowing that we're all terrified, just go anyway.
If I had asked you 15 years ago that same question, do you think your answer would have been different?
Yes, because even though I'd gone through things myself, it's different helping your kid go through it. And so for me, it was like seeing it reflected in him was really more of a fortification of, hey, look, I see what you're doing. I know you prepared for this. You're ready to do this. We're going to do this anyways. And so it kind of helping him do it has kind of helped me do it as well.
There were part of your definition that I liked, which was people that can go through the tough times regardless. But
Right.
that's something that is a universal sticking point for anybody trying to do anything. When it gets hard, they quit. But I want to ask you this for your opinion more than anything, because you've obviously studied this topic quite intensely to write books about it and stuff. What is it in people's minds that convinces them they won't hit those periods? Because they seem to start off fine, go out with energy, they get in with all the creative, they've got all these ideas. Then the second it gets tough, it all disappears. So obviously when they start, they mustn't think that period is going to hit them. What goes into that? Do you see anything that's correlating there?
Yeah. So they think, oh, it's going to be great. Like nothing bad is going to happen. And then something bad happens and they go, ooh, what's going on? That kind of a deal. I think we live in a state of wanting to be comfortable and kind of retreat to this level of comfort or security. And I think that's human nature. It's like our minds want us to be comfortable. And so when these moments happen, I think they blindside us because even though we know it's coming, it still shocks us and surprises us every time, because we're so set up to seek comfort and seek things that aren't stressful. So I think it blindsides us because we're constantly looking for comfort as opposed to the challenge.
I've talked about this a lot in the show, but comfort is such a weird dynamic because like there is so many times you do need comfort. Like we were talking before we started recording about burnout, that we are perfectly in the opportunity now. We need comfort. We need to now resort. Like I was saying to someone a few days ago, like they were asking me if I wanted to jump on and walk them through some sort of editing thing. There was something I do in my clips that they wanted to learn. And I was like, I'm being genuinely honest with you. This weekend, I'm not moving from my sofa. Like you can email me and mess me about the podcast all you want. It will be answered maybe next week. I don't know. But
Nice.
But then there's the flip side of it. People who are lost in life or feeling stuck or feeling like don't have any meaning, that is they will resort to comfort when the main thing they should be doing is seeking everything in the opposite direction. Because I can't remember who it was that said it. There's a guy, I think he may be a philosopher or something, but he was saying that like if you think you're going to learn anything in comfort as opposed to discomfort, you are literally trying to fight against yourself in a battle. Like it's so people, and I think people deep down know that. Like I said it to you and you shook your head straight away. And I'd imagine if I said that to you 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would still know that, but your actions on it would have been different. Why do we know these things that are going to make us mentally tough and just avoid doing them? Are we not just punishing ourselves at this point?
I think a lot of it has to do with the concern, and this is for me, and I think maybe other people as well, the concern of perception from other people. what is this person going to say if I don't do it, or if I fail, or if I fall, or if I don't hit the home run, or if I don't kick the goal, or if I don't make the 3-pointer? What are they going to say about me? And something that kind of helps when you get older, not that everyone has, to wait till they get older, but maybe if people can start doing this now, is realizing that nobody's thinking about you. Everyone is thinking about themselves and what they're going to do and what they're wearing and what other people are thinking about them. So it's like, if you can get to that point where you're like, they're thinking about themselves just like I'm thinking about myself, and no one's really going to be like, oh my gosh, that guy sucks or whatever. It's like, it makes it a lot easier. But I think the short answer is we're concerned a lot of times with perception from other people.
How do you feel about the whole self-improvement area of social media?
I think it can be helpful as long as you apply. I think also sometimes, because we seek comfort, it's great to hear a quote. It's great to see someone say, you can do it. It's great. And then we kind of get our self improvement fix from motivation and don't actually do anything. So I think in some instances it's great, but I think there may be like a little thing at the end where people should be forced to say, now go do something, as opposed to scrolling to the next video. Yeah.
So
So
would you say that we're using those motivational quotes as like less less unproductive procrastination methods?
yeah, they make you feel good. They make you feel great. If we can all quote them all, it's like, work harder and, believe in yourself. And if you can see it, you can have it. It's like, but if they said, we can see it, if you can see it, you can have it, but you're going to have to work your rear end off. And there are going to be times when it's going to suck. But if you keep going, you can have it. But there are going to be a lot of moments during that keep going where you're going to think you need to turn around, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is doing it. And you're going to think it's over, but keep going. Who wants to hear that?
Yeah, I know. I was this person. I used to listen to the most motivational videos out the gate, but never do anything. And
Yeah.
I want to ask you this because you clearly are well versed on it, and I've seen your Instagram and stuff. You know a lot about this area of motivation and stuff. Why are like we so fascinated with listening to the videos and the quotes and stuff, but not applying them?
It's easier. It feels good. It feels good to go, I watched this guy or gal do that thing, and they're like, David Goggins is running and saying, keep going. And what we miss is that dude is in some serious pain right there. He's been running for what, an hour? It's like, that stuff is not easy, but we get the, look at him. He's doing it. It feels good. Short answer. It's like, it feels good to see someone or hear someone say, you can do it, keep going. So we scroll to the next one, which does the same thing. And the next one, which does the same thing.
We say like you have to go through the hard times, but it's not always productive to just throw yourself at a hard
Right.
time right away.
Little things, little challenges. I actually saw this young lady on Instagram, and she actually inspired me for one of her inspirational videos. And I'm applying it now. She said, I make a point to get rejected by someone, either through a contact or every day. I make it a goal to ask a question and have someone say no, or I can't do that for you, or whatever. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So what I would say is, start small, little bitty steps. And, as I say, get 1% better every day. Get yourself in that same challenge. One challenge, one hard thing, one thing that, is a little difficult, but you're like, I can do that. Try that every day, or every other day, or once a week, or whatever is doable for you. A little bit at a time. Yeah.
James Smith's got a great exercise on this discomfort, which it's so funny. I've tried it so many times, and it is genuinely one of the worst experiences you can have in life. Where it's called the free coffee method. So you go into a busy coffee shop, line up for your coffee, and when you get to the front of the line and you order your coffee, when they go to say this is how much it is, look them dead in the eye and say, "Can I have this for free?" And you're not allowed to move until they tell you to pay. So there's no way anything on earth could be more harrowing than that experience. A little 16-year-old just started his first job trying to understand why this guy wants a free coffee.
Yeah, that's wild. Man, standing there for 10 to 15 minutes, that's wild. Wow.
Talking about mental toughness, there's a different subgenre of mental toughness, which people maybe don't understand and maybe get too confused, which is mentally strong. Can you
Mm.
explain the differences? Because they are very similar in stature and status, but meaning they're a little bit on different sides of the planet.
I mean, I think mental toughness would be, the thing where you said where you're standing in line for 15 minutes. That's building mental toughness, like standing there and like looking at this kid and the kid looking back at you for 16 minutes would be which is wild, would be the mental toughness. The mentally strong is what happens as a result of that, which is being able to walk on stage and being I'm not concerned about this. That part, the tough part was like that was hard. I built up my mental toughness muscle so much that it's like now I'm strong. I can walk on the stage in front of thousands of people and be like, "This is cake. Like this is nothing compared to what that was." So what are we talking about? You know what I mean?
So,
Yeah.
mental toughness is the ability to go through hard times, and mental
Hmm.
strength is the ability to learn from the hard times.
Yes, and being able to be like, okay, being able to assess the situation, like from now on, that's not hard anymore because he's stronger mentally. Like things that were used to be hard to go through are no longer hard to go through, you know?
Yeah, I can think of people straight away in my head when you give that definition that are mentally tough but not strong. Why
Mhm.
are there people that can't cross the barrier? Because they've already done the quote unquote
Yeah.
hard part of going through the tough time, but they can't then
Mhm.
build the strength on top of it. Where's the disconnect?
Yeah. Yeah. We forget. We forget. And it is and I can only say this because I have lived this. I was like, I'm not like I've done this where it's like my sisters have said to me, Troy, what are you concerned about, in doing A, B, C, or D? It's like, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this other thing. How are you concerned? And it's like, we forget. We forget that we overcame. And that's why like I love, taking a moment to remember in life, just take a moment, sit back and look, man, I remember when I was, in high school and I thought I wasn't going to graduate because of this, that, and the other, and I made it through. Or I remember having, my car repossessed or not having enough money or whatever else. And I made it through that. I think we have to take moments to remember because I think the thing that keeps us from being mentally strong is we forget. We think it was a fluke.
How do you feel about the people that will claim they are strong because they refuse to deal with the hard times?
Man, like these are great because I know like all these people, all these situations. This is great. So, as soon as you said that, someone popped in my mind, and so now I'm like trying to like figure like how to say this without like, and from someone looking from the outside. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I think even that denial or avoiding the tough instances is something that someone has to work through in their own time and in their own journey because you can't make people address hard issues if they don't want to. And even though we'd like to, it's like I think there has to be a moment. There has to be a switch moment for them, and that's something that they have to experience or create on their own to be willing to step into the next phase of being mentally strong by actually going through the problem. And that's tough because it's like you can't really create that for someone. It's got to be their own aha moment, and that's the thing I think we struggle with as parents or as people try that care about people and want to help them. It's like that part they have to do by themselves, and that rock bottom has to happen, and that wake up moment has to happen. After they have it, we can do all kinds of things, but they have to have it first. So,
Yeah, Richard Tedeschi is a essay on post-traumatic growth, which is pretty much just what you come out the other side of during hard times. And he
mhm,
wrote a subsection about how people are like fear and struggle and stuff. And he broke it down talking to someone who was that person that we're talking about that doesn't
mhm.
want to do the thing. And he talks about how like growth has so many requirements. You have to do each one of them before you can grow. Struggle is at the very top of that list. If you can't deal with struggle, you're not growing in any way. You're not progress. It's like if you wanted to get better at your job, you have to do harder parts of your job to be better at it, and it's impossible. And I thought about it over the weekend because I was prepping for this, and it's almost like it's like a glass of cold water in your face in the morning. It has to happen. Like, if you would
Has
just
to
turn
happen.
over and go back to sleep again. But if you got that glass of water in your face, you would wake up and you would
Right.
learn to appreciate everything else around you. Like I think that
Yeah.
this is like the problem. This is why I asked you about the self improvement world on social media because it came so the whole lion mentality, all that stuff
Mm.
that sounds good and looks good on Instagram, but reality it doesn't apply to life at all because just because you go through something tough doesn't mean you're going to become a tough person. Like, there's
Right,
so
right,
many.
right.
You said right away that whenever I asked you a question, someone came to your head. Through this entire interview, I see people in my head all the time that just haven't took that jump. And I can see myself in it as well. So it's not like I'm talking on behalf of
Yes,
anyone else.
yes, yes.
But these are the why I'm asking these questions, and it's going to sound probably tough for someone listening because what I'm trying to get at, the main thing is with your book and mental toughness, you talk a lot about how the only way to get through it is to face the problem. You have to go at the
Mm.
problem, and
Right, right.
that's an issue. And I understand it is scary, but I asked this to to Rolf whenever he was here, and he had a different
Uh,
kind of way of looking at it, obviously with his life. But why are people so hell bent on forgetting about their problems instead of solving them?
I love this, man. This is great. Honestly, it's easier. It's like and we have, we have best. I'm trying not to get myself in trouble. We have we have we have material and stuff out there that says only positive, think the no negative, stay happy. And people are, oh yes, that's it. That's what I want. Only positive, no. And it's like, and so it gets amplified out there in the world and it feels great to, oh, like something bad happened. No, everything's good. It feels great. But like you said, there is zero growth in that. And what happens, oddly enough, is the younger people, which is weird for me to say. One time I used to be a young person, but it's like they see through all that crap and they're like, dude, you lose credibility, I think, with people who don't have that when they're like, you're saying something's good when clearly it's not good. So I think it creates more tension and more stress because now we're all living in this fake happy, positive, no problem world, but we all know there are problems. So I think the short answer is it feels easier in the moment to say, everything's great, no problems. We're all happy all the time. You know what I mean? And so the answer I would give is it feels great in the moment. In life, at the end of it, it doesn't, but in the moment, it feels great.
So let's pivot a little bit because we've got ourselves pumped out and we've talked about all these tough topics that everybody's got in the front of their mind. But so you have a best-selling book on Amazon about mental
Yeah.
toughness for young athletes, and
Yeah.
I was reading through some of the reviews, and the Amazon highlights what people keep going back and reading over all the time and
Right.
highlighting and Audible, and a lot of it is about developing the competitive mindset. Like you mentioned in the beginning
Uh-huh.
about people who can deal with the pressure and still perform. That is part of the competitive mindset. And
Mhm.
I want to ask you this because it seems like any young, pretty much bordering on pro athlete has that competitive mindset down to a T. How do
Mm.
how do you teach a competitive mindset to a young person who realistically they have other things they want to do as well at the same time?
Yeah. So in the thing I talk about training rough. In the book I talk about training rough. But here's kind of like there's a guy here in the States called Roman Reigns, and I think his name is Joe, something else in real life, but he's a WWE wrestler. And he said, when I was a kid, I'd always walk around the pool, and I'm not recommending anyone do this, by the way. But he said I would walk around the pool and all my brothers and sisters were swimming in, and I was just afraid to do it. And my dad walked with me one time, grabbed me and just threw me in the pool. And I had to learn how to figure it out. Obviously, he figured it out and then he learned how to swim. But I say all that to say the reason why I think these kids are able to have that competitive mindset when they do get it is because they've been thrown into the situation. And your peers and the people around you really do show you what's acceptable, what's standard, what's the culture. And I think that is something that helps them find the competitiveness no matter where they go as far as team or level or whatever it is.
If you don't have those moments early on, not like to that extreme, but if you don't have the moments of
Yeah.
you need to learn now, right? You're going to have problems. No one in life has no problems. Anyone who says they don't have problems is a lying fucker. That is their problem. The quicker you can learn that and learn to solve
Yeah.
them instead of just putting them in the back seat, you could all these little things that you think you don't have or you're not good enough at, you'll realize you
Yeah.
were actually brilliant at them all. You were just hiding them the entire time.
Dude, absolutely. Absolutely that. Yes. Those moments. Yes. You realize that you're absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yes, that.
You have a
Yes.
good quote in this, actually. I've seen it on your Instagram that magic really happens when you take the first step and decide. But there's a problem with that. That first step is difficult. You and I both know. How do we, especially say, let's stay on young people. I know we'll go talk about adults in a minute. Young people try and take the first step. They don't actually know what that first step. Maybe they know what the first step is. They don't know what comes after. How do they?
Right.
How do they take that jump?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we just talked about with Roman Reigns and with Matthew McConaughey. We don't like to do this for kids, especially now because we have those moments where we had to struggle through. We don't want you to struggle. We want you to be. We are going to do this. Actually, no, you are going to do this, and we have this time. And I'm not doing anything else until we get through this moment. So we're gonna sit here. I'm gonna, we're if you don't do it today, we're gonna be back tomorrow. We're going to do this. You're going to do this until we get through it. And so hopefully that was answering the question. But I think for the first step, you got to say, like, this is the first step. Because like you said, they don't know what it is. This is the first step, and you are going to do it. And I love you enough to sit here and wait for you to figure out how to get through this. Because that's love, to be able to sit there and watch your kids struggle. That's hard. But you also know that in life, it's going to be harder. So I love you enough to suffer watching you struggle. Yeah.
So we probably already have mentioned the answer to the first part of this question, but I've got two last questions on the young athletes area
Mhm,
because I think this is quite good to link in. So the first part is, in your like opinion or during your experiences and stuff, and obviously you have your son that plays basketball too.
mhm.
What's like the biggest mental block that young athletes or young people are facing at the moment?
You're trying to get me canceled on here, aren't you? Trying to
No.
get me like banned here. You're asking all because every time you ask me a question, I know the answer. But I'm like, okay, how do I say this so so that I don't get myself in trouble? One of the biggest problems, this is my best way of saying this, are the older people in the room who will place limiting beliefs or possibilities on the younger people based on their own struggles and experiences.
And my
There
follow up
you go.
is, what would it look like if they carried that mental block into their adult lives?
I can tell you what it does look like. It looks like, fear of moving to a different job or situation, whatever it is that they need to do to grow their life, because now they know all the reasons why, all the statistics why it's impossible for them to have whatever. And so now they're using those adult voices from their childhood to talk themselves into a life that they don't want. And then they end up having, what's it, the number one regret of the dying is that I didn't live the life that I wanted to live. I forget the lady's name that wrote that book. But it's like when we're doing that, we are planning, we are pointing them towards that number one regret, because they hear at 9, 10, 8 years old, every word you say is going straight to their subconscious mind. Anytime you say, well, you can't because of this or the odds of this or whatever, you're talking to a kid, but it's being engraved into an adult mind. So I would say disconnect your reality. I mean, what's the guy's name that is number one or one of the number one tennis players in the world? Um, Djokovic or something like that.
Djokovic.
Novak. Yes. So he was talking about how he was like, when I was 12 years old, I was playing tennis and we were in a country that had no tennis um, background or people or any of that stuff. And my dad said to me, he said, set $10 on the table. And he said, this is all we have. If you're going to play this sport, I'm going to need for you to step it up. And he said, we're going to be, to his 12-year-old, we are going to be number one. Now imagine that. Imagine saying to a 12-year-old who's been kind of playing tennis for fun or whatever, I need for you to step it up. And not only are we going to step it up, you're going to be number one in the world in a country where you just had. So I have $10 to my name, and there are no tennis people from our country that you can emulate.
Yeah, I always revert back to the Tiger Woods documentary because I say to people all the time that message me that talk about, oh, I'm having this tough patch or with this thing. I would say, go back and watch that documentary and try and put yourself in the shoes of a 4-year-old getting screamed at by his dad like that. You have no idea. Like, it makes so much sense to me why he's so good at golf. Like, he couldn't
Mm,
be in a, he was either going to be so good at golf or he was going to be in jail for killing someone. It was one or the other. There's never anything else that was gonna happen, but
right,
it's an extreme these are extreme examples, but they're perfect examples
right, right.
of like, you kinda just need to suck it up at times and do it. Go for it kinda at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. And as a parent, it's hard. Like even thinking about Earl Woods yelling at this 4-year-old, that was hard. You don't think there's a part of him as a human being that's looking at his 4-year-old son who's probably going and thinking, "Man, I'm a jerk right now." You don't think he's telling himself that? But he's going, "Look, I know what this kid wants to do or can do or what's possible for him if he does this, and I've got to help him get there." Same with Novak's dad. It's like, I know, I see that you can possibly do this, and you're 12 years old, and we're saying we're going to be number one, but if we don't do this, if you don't do this, you're going to be sitting here in 10, 15 years with your kids saying, here's $10. This is what we got. And we can't have that. Right. So and I know we, even in our conversation right now, we try to say, you know, obviously do what works for you. I always say that to everyone, do what resonates with you, but know that it's going to be hard no matter what.
Let's pivot a little bit now to the people that you're working with now more than the young athletes. So, you work a lot now with people who are 40s and over that a
Hmm.
little bit stuck, a little bit that point where they don't really know if they've done the right thing and stuff like that. And I wanted
Hmm.
to ask you this more, it's more of a generalized question because I know there's a lot of people that there's kind of two sides of the coin. The people that get to the age of like 40 and they realize they've done nothing. There's also people that are creeping up to the age of 30 that feel like they haven't done enough. Why do we break at the ages of 30 and 40 mentally?
Yeah, because we have all our plans for the first half. It's like when we're, in high school and whatever, it's like, or middle school, I'm gonna be an astronaut, right? And so you go and you do your, you study chemistry and rocketeering or whatever it is, and either you become an astronaut or you don't. And then you wake up and you're 35, 40, 45, 50, and you're like, man, there's a lot of time left. And I tried to become an astronaut and I did, or I didn't. I don't really want to be an astronaut anymore. What am I going to do now? So I think it's kind of like a second adolescence, if you will. It's a second, like, okay, what do I want to do with this time? And most of the time in our societies, people tell us you're supposed to have it figured out. It's supposed to be done by now. You're supposed to be moving into, if you're 40, then you should have already done it. And you're supposed to be moving on to retirement or whatever. If you're 30, you haven't done it. It's like, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong. You're not in the 30 under 30. And so we've been giving all these achievement goal markers. And I like to tell people those are not real. I mean, they're they're things that people set up that have nothing to do with real life. I mean, we have people like in the States, let me think, Ray Kroc that did the McDonald's stuff, which is now worldwide. He was 53 years old when he opened his first McDonald's. Not like when he was like, he opened, before then, he was a milkshake machine salesman struggling driving around the country. So I mean, I think he did all right. I think, we can all say it ended up pretty well. I mean, there's so many situations like, people that did that. I think Julia Child was 45, something like that, before she wrote her first book. And George Foreman was 45 when he won the heavyweight championship again. These these road markers they have are not real. Make your own. And when you hit that point and you're like, okay, I'm 30, I haven't done what I wanted to do, you got a whole lot of time left. So let's make a plan. Let's sit down figure out what we want to do, and attack it like we're a teenager going after our goals again, is what I would
David
say.
David Brooks wrote a theory called the second mountain theory, which is the first
Mm.
mountain you go through is when you're trying to achieve success and you want all these achievements and shiny objects. And when you're getting close to the top of the mountain, you think the view from here is going to be incredible. When you get to the
I
top of the
love that.
mountain, you look out and your view is blocked by another mountain, which is where you have to climb that mountain to gain purpose and meaning and appreciation. And this is
I
a
love that. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it must be hard though to tell someone that did chase like the shiny objects of success and stuff like
Mm.
that, but now they're at a point where I think I would say they're mentally weak now, but it could be just a case of they were mentally tough in the wrong areas maybe. But
Mm.
how do you advise mental toughness to someone when their life is no longer kind of revolving around success? They've got kids, they're aging, they've got marriages, things like that. How do you advise them in that regard?
What I like to tell them is that all that gumption you had when you were, younger in 18, 19, 20, or whatever, and you were, blindly going after these things and you got them, you have more of an ability to reach that purpose, that meaning, whatever it is that you want because you went through those moments. All the things you thought you knew when you're 18, 19, 20, you actually know now. So in wanting to reach whatever it is you want to reach, you actually have the tools that you thought you had when you were 20 and you did, pretty decent. So now instead of going, oh, there's something wrong with me, I didn't reach it, I messed up, whatever, use the information that you have now in this moment, like David Brooks, to reach this purpose because you failed all those or succeeded in all those other moments. So now use that information to reach whatever it is that you want to reach, whether it's meaning, purpose, direction, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what I would say to them.
It's a good one to be fair, but I'm trying to think if there's a way now we can link it together. But because you talked about how you say that whenever you're advising the people that are like in their 40s, you're telling them to
Mhm,
focus more on purpose, meaning, things like that. The people that
mhm,
are on the other side of that, the 18, 19-year-olds, they only want the
mhm,
success, the shiny objects, the material.
mhm.
How do we help the two of them learn off each other?
Mentor of mine said, find someone who is a few steps ahead of you, and the beautiful thing is we have social media now. So you can follow anyone, and see what their journey is. But find someone a few steps ahead of you that will tell you what it looks like when you get down the road so that okay, well, look, if I'm that 18, 19, 20 year old, this person is telling me what I need to do to get there. And they're also showing me what it takes to get there. So I don't have to live in a space of, obviously there's still some figuring it out you're going to have to do, but I don't have to live in a space of wondering what it's going to take to get there. Cause with my son who wants to be a content creator, Duke Dennis is sitting there saying, I did A, B, C, and D. If you want to get here, do A, B, C, and D. And for the ones that are older, I think it's imperative that we, and I know I'm learning to do this myself. So I'm speaking to myself as well as the older people out there. We have to take to social media. I know we just cringed a little bit and make these videos and share this information with people so that they have someone to watch that says, "Hey, you want to be whatever." I did this. It hopefully will help you, but to get here or the things not to do are A, B, C, and D, or the things to do are A, B, C, and D. And that way we help each other is what I think is the answer to that.
So before we get some finishing questions out of the way, I can't continue a conversation about mental toughness without bringing the guy up, but he's the king of mental toughness. So from your conversation with Kobe Bryant when he was alive, what did you learn anything from him straight away? Like whenever you were speaking to him, there was something you just felt that it was different about him.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I keep learning, and I learned from him specifically, but I keep learning is um, he was the same person on and off the field, all on and off the court. By that I mean when he hopped on the phone with me, when I was talking to him, it was very much the energy of "Don't mess this up, dude." Like he was that kind of energy. It's like I'm here, I'm doing this interview. You asked for it, I'm here. Make sure this goes well. Was just the energy you could feel in his voice. When Moses hopped on, he became a dad and he softened, and I could hear him be like, "Hey, buddy, so this is what you wanna do, and here's a," and I was like, "Okay." So it was kind of like this thing of like, he was just a human being who, and I also was really, man, even in talking about it, it's like I'm like getting a little like, oof, like choked up because in the beginning before our call, his daughters were talking to him and he's like, "Give me a few minutes, mama. Give me a few minutes, sweetie. I'm gonna, I got to this call, I'm gonna do it." And I'm like, we're all just human beings trying to do, woo, that man, trying to do the best we can, period. No matter who you are, it's like the thing that I got from him was like, despite all the things and being able to shift in between whatever it is that he's doing, we are all human beings trying to do the best by the people that we love and care about. If we can, you know, embrace that idea as if for anything, I think that would help us a lot. You know, we're all trying to do our best and we're all humans.
Spoke about
Yeah.
mental toughness, mental strength, and we did touch a little bit on social media. And something I
Yeah.
want you to round off this episode with a bit of advice on this because this is something that I am seeing the disconnect with, and I am trying my best to people that speak to me regularly to push them in the opposite direction. But how can we teach people there is a time to turn off that mental toughness and be a normal human?
That stuff is learned through empathy is learned through being on the other side of someone who needs empathy. And I think that happens again by being allowed to go through tough times. The reason why he was able to turn it off and on is because he had been in those situations, maybe when it wasn't turned on for him, or maybe when it was. Struggle is really the answer to learning how to turn things on and turning things off. Losing is the answer to how to know when it's time to apply the pressure and when it's not. Being in a situation where you are the one that needs the empathy or needs the person to turn it off is, I think, the best way. I'm not going to say the only way because there's never the only, but the best way to have that situation. So, to answer your question, I think the best way to learn how to turn it on and off is to allow people to be in situations where it's harder for them, and they need that compassion from someone else, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my last question before we sign off: what kind of betting tips did you get from Chauncey Billups? I had to do
No,
it.
see,
I
I
had
almost
to
made
do
it, now you're trying to
it.
get me canceled, man. It's
I
like,
had
okay.
to. I can't see his name on my prep sheet and not mention it. So
Like,
anyway, avoid it, avoid it. We're not getting cancelled. Need to keep our careers. So,
yes, absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
tell the people, Troy, where can they find you? What have you got out? What's coming in the future?
Great. So yeah, I have this book that's coming out, or that's out now, called Middle Management. I'm big on the M's, I guess. Middle management is for people who are in the middle of their life, who are looking to find a way to transition into that second half of life. It's also available on Amazon. It's called Middle Management: How to Find Success, Meaning, Purpose, and Success, I believe, or Meaning, Clarity, and Success. And it's available on Amazon. You can also connect with me at troyhorne.com. That's TROYHORNE.com. And I'm Troy Horne Official on Instagram. I'm on there all the time. Those are the best ways to, I think, to connect if you're interested in that.